Welcome everyone. Today we'll have an amazing Runemaster video learning from Dreadful on YouTube. So firstly, let's have a look at his Runemaster and also its incredible abilities to walk around and killing monsters. So yes, we'll be learning this particular build together from Dread, and big thank you for him for sharing this build. Now I haven't played Runemaster myself personally, but I have always been thinking of playing Runemaster. I think this build might convert me into making a Runemaster for my next new character. If you have seen our previous videos with Runemaster, you can see that it can easily reach 3000 corruption using the Snap's high-end co-op build. But looking at the Runemaster, I really want something simple, something that is mobile, something that can deal tons of damage without me having to do most of the work. I know it sounds very lazy of me, but personally I love summoning builds, I love mobility build, and also I love build that is very great in terms of what it does. So let me briefly explain to you what I learned from Dread, and we'll be going through this video to learn together about this Runemaster build. You can see that he's proccing lightning, and he's doing lightning damage over time, and the radius will spread out and spread in as he casts his spells. He'll be using the Fireball as a mobility skill as he runs forward. And yes guys, we will learn the key skill points and also passives with Dread together about how the build scales and how it deals more damage. Now most of the time, he will be running around with his Runemaster, and his AoE spells damage is great. Because of the damage over time and also the procs and also the status stacking, it is a rather cheap and also simple to build Runemaster build to get you guys started. Now I'm not gonna say this will be the top meta endgame build, but this has some very fun and also interesting mechanics. Now in terms of defensive capacities, this build will be stacking health regen together with chance to shock, which allows him to deal even more lightning damage over time. So the build has some great defensive capacities at the very low stage of the game, as long as we know which stats to go for. And finally, the build has some really nice single target damage as long as you'll be casting your static lightning bolts. So let's briefly have a look over here. Now, I don't think the Dread has finalized the build or he had time to push for higher corruptions for this build, so do keep in mind of that. And you can see while dealing single target damage, he can take down the boss pretty quickly as well with one of those rare monsters at the end of the echo. So over here, I have written some summary notes which I was learning from the Dread's video and some of the crucial aspects of the Runemaster that you guys want to be aware of. Now because this is quite a beginner friendly and also easy to build setup, it is quite nice to follow his builder's guide, and you can see that he was using set items and also some very common stuff which we tend to not look into much a lot. So this build will be taking some interesting effects like health regen and also ability to do more damage over time and also more health regen. So it's a quite interesting build that I want to go through with you guys. Now before we dive into the guide, this build was originally created by the Dread on YouTube, and a big thank you and shout out to him to share this build with everyone. The Dread does have a very detailed video to explain this build, and definitely follow and also subscribe to him if you want to see this build in action and also keep learning the build with him onto YouTube. So here I really want to introduce the build to you guys. The Dread also streams live on Twitch, so if you guys have any questions on this build or other builds related to last Epoch, he has tons of experience and also great information that you can be asking him live onto Twitch. Now here, I do want to apologize, I keep calling him the Dread, but rather his YouTube name is Dreadful. Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm so silly with names. Okay, now diving into the build. Now we'll be referring back to Dreadful's video, and here we'll be learning and also going combined with everything. Just as a summary notes, the build will be using lightning element damage over time, and this is the biggest focus. We'll be using spells that cost 15 mana, which allows us to trigger the Brand of Deception. The Brand of Deception can be applied increasing damage from global multipliers and other skill multipliers as you path into the tree. So this particular damage source is coming from the passives of the Runemaster, and then this allows your spells to do even more damage over time. Together with the next passive, we'll focus on the Order of Imposition, which allows you to deal even more damage over time with Brand of Deception. This also stacks further and also scales forward with more shock chance. So here you can see in the passive, every 1% of shock chance will provide him with 1% additional damage with damage over time. And this together allows Dreadful's Runemaster to have over 500% shock chance. Now the build itself will use Flame Rush as mobility and also Static Orb in terms of single target damage. So you can see some notes over here. In terms of the best installed weapon, Dreadful has recommended the Plague Barrier Staff. Now this staff is actually quite common. I see this staff a lot and I stopped picking this up, so maybe I should start picking this up. This staff, he's currently using a 2 legendary potential one with increasing lightning damage and also chance to shotgun hit. One of the biggest highlight here is chance to shotgun hit will allow him to have percentage damage increase. And using a 2-handed staff means the tier 7 can roll up to 192%. And this particular unique staff will increase the global multipliers for damage over time by 20% while enemies are affected by plague. And this also allows him to deal even more damage over time. Now in terms of the defensive stats for the build, we really want to look into health regen, because one of the passive for the Runemaster is that health regen will also be applied to ward, and this means they're getting a lot of warding, and this makes him having so much more defensive capacities. Dreadful did mention in the video, currently the Runemaster is a little buggy, and this means that one decimal wasn't incorrect. The Runemasters are getting 10 times more amount of warding coming from the health regen. And if you guys are planning to build a health regen Runemaster, it's a great time to do so. So coming over to the stats of the gears, you can see this is the reason behind it, why he's getting percentage health regen, flat on the chest for tier 7, and also finding more ways to get health regen, like on the belts over here, and also on the boots, on the gloves, even on the rings. So one of the biggest highlights for the build is you want to find more health regen, which will give you more warding. Together with offensive capacities to deal more damage over time, this build is gonna be pretty amazing offensively and also defensively. And this should be one of the fun builds that can take you guys further with the Runemaster, then you can swap into an endgame build. And here's one of the warnings. Because Dreadful is currently making the build and it's a work in progress, I really do recommend following him for the future update of the build. If I get a chance to play the build, I'll also be learning from him. We also have another build from the Step who has become world number 1 in co-op, reaching 3000 corruption with the Runemaster. So there is a lot of endgame build in mind for the Runemaster, guys. If you want to start playing the Runemaster, it's a great time to look into the starting up build. One of my likings for the build is that he's actually using set items. Notice those set items are not going to be the best in slot, of course, and eventually I think he will change out of those items for legendaries. But those set items will provide him with more intelligence, more shock chance per intelligence, which will be massive for his build, and additionally more health regen, ward decay threshold, additional resistance, and also even more intelligence. So the rolls on those items can be great before you get your hands on some. Before you get your hands on really high LP legendaries. And this means that you can be using 3 set items to save 3 spots for a pretty fun build that doesn't require much effort to be investing into those. Now in terms of the idols and also the blessings, you can see Dreadful is actually having chance to shotgun hit and also additional chance of shotgun hit. Simply because this actually scales with the passive, order of imposition over here, which we talked about previously, each % of shock chance will give him more damage. So it's pretty straightforward, that's why he's stacking the chance to shock. Together with getting some additional HP's resistance, he is having more health regen defensively based on the fact that he can stack more warding because of health regen. In terms of blessings, it is quite defensive in terms of more resistance and also additional armor, and also more shock on hit, which will give him even more damage. Now coming over to the skill rotations, and this is where I want to lead you back to Dreadful's video. So if you have a look and also listen to his video,
invocation stuff. In this case, we're doing Gone, Ra, Gone, and that will give us access to Runic Gale, which is a lightning skill that costs well over 15 mana.
So yes, I really want to take you back to his video because I do want to, give him the credits he deserves and not summarize everything. So if you guys want to learn the skill rotations, the combination of the Runemaster with skill rotations, and also how to deal the most damage single target, and also AoE, and also how to have the most fun with the build, I do recommend coming over to his video, which he will be explaining more to you guys with the details of the build and also with future updates. And before we finish, yes, a big thank you for Dreadful for sharing this particular guide, and you can see the title. In 4 years of Last Epoch playing, this is his favorite build. Well, that makes me excited. And this means my next character is very likely going to be the Runemaster to try out as my new starting character to try different builds for the Runemasters. Now, if you guys haven't subscribed, this is a really good time to do so, because I'll be learning with tons of the top meta, last Epoch build from different players in terms of solo and also in terms of co-op to push for higher corruptions, 800, 2000 here, and also different ways of getting top leaderboard with arena with leveling. And in doing so, we'll be learning multiple builds from the best players in the world. So make sure you subscribe and join me on this adventure to learn with last Epoch. And if you guys do have an amazing build, whether it's a fun build, it's a creative build, or maybe a top meta build, you can share with me on Discord, and I'll look into it, learn the build, and share with everyone on the Last Epoch community.